A warm welcome from the MFG home base in Central Europe to all of you joining us today from around the world. It's so great to have you here and to practice creative sustainability together. We have prepared a special setup today in reference to the idea of Spaceship Earth. Therefore, we are streaming from the Creatables communication bridge on Spaceship Earth today. Our Spaceship Earth, in fact, is right now facing great challenges. The climate crisis, the ongoing pandemic, and pressing social issues. All these challenges know no borders. They are interconnected and they affect our future as well as that of future generations. We, the co-founders of the Creatables initiative, believe that the Sustainable Development Goals can only be achieved if we leave our cultural fortresses and open ourselves to new perspectives. Everyone should be reached and included in our journey to create a sustainable world. Older people, youth, those who don't have a voice, and people like you and me who come from all kinds of cultural backgrounds and identities. If we embrace and celebrate this diversity and see it as a critical advantage for sustainable innovation, we will succeed. To that end, we have invited speakers from the US, China, the UK, and Europe to Creatables 21 to learn how they are using creative design, media, and technology and business approaches to achieve sustainable goals. Thank you so much, Tom, Anna, Deborah, Jan, Daniel, and Drew, for sharing your perspective on creative sustainability with us today. Let's shape our future through creativity, storytelling, and design, and not disasters. I sincerely thank Professor Steffen Walz for creating this conference with the wonderful lineup of speakers you will hear just right about. We are also very grateful for the support of a great variety of partners, especially the Ministry of Economics, Baden-Württemberg, and we are very proud of being part of the Economic Partnership Initiative UK and Baden-Württemberg. Last but not least, I want to give a big thank you to the wonderful Creatables crew with Maria Rox, Laura Thomas, and Yannick Oswald behind the scenes. So now let's get started our conference, and I will try. I'm now contacting the Creatables Communication Center and it works. To this communication bridge.
Connect electrodes.
Okay. That's the sound. That sounds great.
Hi.
Hello. Sorry, Catherine, can you hear and see me? Oh, okay. What are you doing?
Working on a project here at the Communication Center of the Creatables.
Oh, that's so great. Wonderful. So we want to get started, and I would like you to start now to launch our Creatables Conference 21 and to beam us up to all these wonderful people, to the wonderful cultural and conservative approaches around the world. So good luck and have a nice evening, a nice afternoon or morning wherever you are. I give over to you, Katrin.
All right, thank you, Angela. I will do that. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Creatables conference and welcome to our communication center on Spaceship Earth. Actually, again, I'm sorry I missed the start, but the timer was kind of a mess. I think something is really off here at Spaceship Earth at the moment. So I think I should introduce myself maybe. My name is Radke. I'm a game programmer and I'm co-founder of the indie game studio Spellgarden Games. And as I said, I'm working at a project currently, and that fits the theme of today quite well. So it's a wholesome farming game that will also teach you programming. And with that, we want to target underrepresented groups, especially marginalized genders, to maybe help increase the diversity of the tech and games industry. So gender equality actually is only one of the 17 sustainability goals of the United Nations, but we need all of them for Spaceship Earth to stay peaceful, fair, and healthy. So we're all in this ship together. We have to work together to find solutions to all of these problems. And we can't get off. So we created this Creatables conference to look at different approaches, to look at creative solutions to all of these issues. We'll look at different areas of the creative industries. We look at games, we look at more web-based technologies and more analog approaches. We invited some speakers from all over the world to give us input from their cultural background and from their area of expertise. So as we are currently in Hop-In, and this is the platform that you are in right now, let's get a little overview of it. So right now we are at the stage. And if you can see and hear me now, you're actually right now in the perfect space for this conference. On the right side, you can see the chat, and there you can talk to each other, maybe ask questions, or just let us know what you think. And please use the stage chat, not the general event chat. Steffen is here from Berlin. He will take care of the chat and he will forward any of your questions to the communication center to me. So then you can also see on the right side the Kahoot tab. If you go to that, there will be some games for us to play in just a few moments. I will explain it when we get there. And there are other links. You can see the networking part. This is where you can be matched with a random other participant, so you can get to know some interesting people, hopefully. And the expo, where you find the digital booth of our event partners. For example, the WWF Climate Change 101 game via Kahoot, presented by Diconium. So speaking of partners, I actually want to take this moment to thank everyone involved in this wonderful event and everyone who made this possible. So thank you, special thanks to Ministerium für Wirtschaft, Arbeit und Tourismus Baden-Württemberg. Thank you to Pulsmacher for this great event location and the streaming. And thank you to our partners. Thank you to Werk. Thank you to the Economic Partnership Baden-Württemberg, to DGVN Landesverband Baden-Württemberg, the IHK Baden-Württemberg, the RKW Baden-Württemberg, and the Spiegel Institute. So right now we are ready to hop into our Kahoot games, and this is where the game is going to start. In just a few seconds we will see the first question. So all over the sessions we prepared some questions and games for you, and whenever you see a banner that says "Let's play Kahoot," then you know, okay, it's time to check over and look if there's a new question for you. And we invite you all to participate. All right, okay, so the first question that I would like to ask you to maybe get to know you a little bit better is, if you feel comfortable, maybe share where you're from what city you're currently dialing into the Creatables conference. So you have a few seconds to type in your answer if you want. We'll give you a few seconds, and then I'm very curious to see from what part of the world we have people watching today. Okay, the first answer is coming in. Not seeing anything by now, just colors. 7 answers, still just colors. Maybe you can see, I can't see the words, so. Already 15 answers. All right, there are all the cities that you're from. Okay, a lot of people from Stuttgart. I'm not surprised by that, but also, yeah, different cities from Germany. That's great. Also from Wales, Boston. Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you for answering. I hope you all have a great connection to Ludwigsburg today. All right, let's get to the next question. So just let us know, what is the most important field of sustainable impact for you? Is it either ecology, is it economy, is it social, or maybe is it all three? So again, a few seconds for you to answer. And we will see the results in just a few seconds. We already have 9 answers. Eleven answers. Oh, okay, there are a lot of people participating in that one. 22 answers already. All right, so, okay, some of you said ecology, but most of you actually said all three. So, yeah, and that's probably true. We can't only look at one. Maybe we will have to look at all the different areas. So that's great. Thank you for participating. And again, remember, whenever you see the banner pop up that says, "Let's play Kahoot," check if there are new questions for you to answer. All right. So, yeah, let's get to the next part. We will go and take a look at the map of our spaceship Earth right now. This is the map. Yeah, you know, as we still can't meet in person because someone messed with the gravity chamber again, but luckily we're at the communication central of Creatables, so this is where all the communication lines from all over the spaceship come together. So we could gather a lot of people from all over the spaceship, and the first speaker that we're going to hear is Drew Davidson, and he is a professor at the Entertainment Technology Center at the Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh. And I'm put this little thing here, so we get an overview of where we are right now. So, yeah, as I said before, I'm working on a project about kind of like diversity, and I just quietly assumed that we all agree that diverse teams are a good idea. But Drew has actual proof that diversity, inclusion, and innovation are related. So, hi Drew, good to see you.
Good seeing you as well. Thank you, Katrin. Good
Hi.
day, everyone from all around the world. I'm beaming in from Pittsburgh, and I look forward to sharing some ideas and kicking off this event as I come from the United States. Let me share my screen really quickly. Let's see what I want to share that. Can you all see that slide? Yes, no. I'll assume you can, and we'll go from there. So this morning, today, I'd like to talk about creative chaos for good. A little bit about me, as Katrin said, I'm at the Carnegie Mellon University. I'm the director of the Entertainment Technology Center. I also founded an open access printing press called the ETC Press, and you can find me there at waxup.com. At the Entertainment Technology Center, one of the founders, Randy Pausch, used to describe it as the world's best playground with an electric fence. And what he meant was creativity needed constraints. That learning needs these challenges, you know, success needs the failures on your way there, and the extraordinary really needs boundaries. I think this is like a great event showing that, the Creatables, you know, coming in from outer space. The ETC sort of combines art, tech, and technology and design. It was founded out of the College of Fine Arts and School of Computer Science 23 years ago. It blows my mind. And we cover a variety of things, going from games, animation, theme park, all of the above. And we're very curious about that range of entertainment technologies and creative industries. And then we're very interested about how that can be used for education and learning, or training, or health, civic engagement, social issues. Nothing wrong with just having entertainment. So creative chaos, what do we mean by that? What we mean is when you're engaging in the creative process, you're dealing with ambiguous ideas and uncertain results. You have to sort of iterate your way through and get really, really comfortable being flexible as you try to find out what's going on through the process itself. I like to tell our students, if you know exactly what you're doing, then I would argue you're not doing anything creative. And sort of borrowing this from Disney, they like to talk about their creative work as making the magic. Something, when we think about innovative work and doing creative work, it's like, are you making something new, useful, and good? And it's a process you go through and apply your research. We hope our students are very critical about their creation process and are thinking through what they're making and why. So how do we go about doing this? Well, we partnered with Professor Dr. Lori Weingart. She's out of the business school here at Carnegie Mellon, Tepper, and two of her graduate students, Gergana Todora and Kenneth Go. They were very curious about doing a study of how we teach creativity. What they were interested in is sort of like, how does expertise diversity translate into innovative work? So over 4 years, they studied about 60 projects, hundreds of students, where teams were surveyed during the semester. And also the graduate students sort of did observations and interviews. And then they had, outside of grades, we had an independent panel doing ratings of the final products of these semester-long teams. What they really were trying to measure was team processes, like how were they handling conflict and communication, how are they managing and doing leadership, and then looking at those ratings, both in terms of grades and the independent external group of like, what do we think of the quality of the work? Is it useful, usable, and desirable? What was really interesting as these study results came together was that more diversity led to more conflict during the process, but it also statistically led to more useful, usable, and desirable products that were higher quality and more innovative. And so that sort of diversity really seems to be creative sparks for doing better work, even if there's challenges therein as you're working with a group of people who are different than yourself. Then we continued to work with, and to this day we're continuing to work with, but we worked with another doctoral student under Lori Weingart, where she dug into the demographic data, looking at how gender and ethnicity and work experience can have an impact. And believe it or not, they all do. The more of a diverse mix you have, the higher quality and more innovative work that you do. In an educational context, we're very curious about, does the project type matter? Like, is it a game? Is it with a client? Is it their own idea? The size, or the direct instructors? And again, none of that really had as much of an impact, though. It was more important, that first line of like having that diverse mix. And then this fascinated us: familiarity, leadership, and valuing of diversity. If you asked our students, they would say like, oh, please put me with my friends, that'll be a better project. Turns out that's not true. It's the idea of familiarity kind of had a curvilinear relationship, where over here on this side, if nobody knows each other, there's a bit of a churn as you try to get to figure out who you are and develop trust and respect. If you go over here to where, oh, best friends for life, we love each other, there's too much of an echo chamber and group thing happening. So there's this nice sweet spot in the middle up here where you get people who have developed some trust and respect, but there's also some nice input of new ideas into the mix, and that led to the most innovative work. With leadership, what we found interesting is they were really digging into two sort of metrics on a continuum of like, on this side, whoever's like the producer or project manager, all they care about is schedule and budget. And over here is like, does the team feel like their project manager has their back and there's a lot of trust and respect? And believe it or not, teams tend to do better when there's a lot of trust and respect as opposed to micromanagement. And last but not least, if this was like a general thing that came out of the data, and it's sort of supported by other researches, if you espouse and value diversity, just diversity in itself flourishes and helps you do better work. This resonates with another colleague of ours from the Tepper Business School here at Carnegie Mellon, a professor named Anita Woolley, who really looks into how small groups can tap into their collective intelligence and do more than they could do by themselves. And she found, as she was doing her research, that groups more readily tap into their collective intelligence if they feel like they can make equal contributions and that people are listening to each other. Also, if there's a display of empathy and emotional intelligence, so we can sort of like, oh, Katrin, I can tell, how you doing today? And, we have a good talk. And then her research just happened to show that if you have more women on the team, you have to automatically get this. But then she underscored that with, you can't then allow women to do the social emotional work of a group. Everybody needs to step up and take responsibility for this so that the collective intelligence and teams can work better together. So granted, I'm talking about some studies and research done at Carnegie Mellon with graduate students, so kind of a select group. But there is a lot of resonant research out there on the positive impact of having diverse, inclusive groups working together. So I just had some references here, these huge meta studies that were done, just looking at the positive impact of diversity in groups. So what we like to think about it when we pull those diverse groups together, and they're gonna be complex, it's like, how do you orchestrate that process? Because creativity, we know it's inherently chaotic. You're kind of trying to figure out what you're doing as you're going. So failures are gonna happen. And it's an ongoing challenge. Sometimes we have student teams kind of go, we solved communication, we don't have to worry about it anymore. And I was like, for today, communication is a process. Also, more diversity definitely leads to better results, but it's going to be something that you have to support because it's going to be a challenging process. And when we say valuing diversity, we really try to think about the intersectionality of all that through gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, socioeconomic, culture, religion, age, disability, expertise. And then for us, it's like, diversity is the goal. Well, actually, take that back. Inclusivity is our goal and diversity is the result. So we really want to try to make people feel supported and feel like they're part of a group. And you have to follow through with actions on what you're doing, not just words. And we have found through this research and just through our own studies that having more diverse teams lead to more diverse products and processes. You get to see different things happening, which is really exciting. And we encourage and challenge our students to discuss and address this. If they feel like things are letting, falling off the side or an issue needs to be addressed, we hope they speak up, because this is how we form culture and community. And then last but not least, it's sort of like, the idea of difference. Like, we are different, we're making a difference, and that it's progress, and that I hope we're better than we used to be, but we still have a long way to go. So we have to keep attending to this and not just assume we've solved it. A big part of how we try to address this is everybody in our program goes through improvisational acting. This helps our students really get into the yes and philosophy of how to shape experience together. I think they get really comfortable with chaotic stuff. Like when you're on stage trying to play together, it's visceral if it's not working well. You're sort of like getting into that creative thing of like, how do we create something from nothing? And that yes and philosophy is also really grounded in like serving the story. And we hope that translates, when you're doing it on stage and improvisational acting, into working on projects together, where, it's more important the goals of the projects as opposed to, are you the smart one? Or are you the clever one? And I like to remind our students that people can suck as you're working with other people. And I put the can in there to be nice. Because sometimes, your supervisor will be the one who's bringing the suck, or there's a client, or it's your colleagues that you're working with, or just bureaucracy in and of itself seems to bring the suck out of humanity. Or if anybody's done anything on the internet, apparently I hear that it can really suck with the crowds out there. And last but not least, sometimes you have to look yourself in the mirror and go, I'm the one who's sucking today, and I need to try to address that. So we challenge our students and are encouraging students to think about taking responsibility in a way to sort of address the fact that as you're working with people across these projects, you're going to have those challenges. So we take responsibility for the work you're doing, for how you deal with your colleagues, for the mistakes you're going to make, because you're going to make mistakes, for the failures you're going to have. Take responsibility for regretting something you might have done poorly before. A big thing is to step up and own that you don't know something and ask for help, as opposed to just trying to figure it out all by yourself. And for bringing your best into a project, as opposed to just who cares? Another thing, I love this concept of comfortability. It's a sort of corollary of confidence, but I think it's a little less about arrogance and more about just becoming much more grounded in addressing the unknown and taking responsibility in these sort of creative process that can be really chaotic. Getting really used to new challenges. Our current group of students, who are in college level, they're projecting that they're going to have careers that are going to last to 50 or 60 years as opposed to 30 years. And that's partly life expectancy, cost of living. So across that 50 to 60 year career, they're going to have to do things they've never done before. Hopefully it's not Facebook. No, I'm joking. Meta. So 30 years from now, it'll be something none of us are aware of, but they're going to have to figure out how to do that. So they're going to make mistakes on the way. And if they get comfortable with that, get comfortable with themselves within that context, I think that just sets themselves up for success, as opposed to just losing their edge. Because we're all developing our reputations, how to be a good colleague, a good team member, coming in with an attitude of wanting to be supportive with each other. It's not really about, being the smartest person or the most talented or better. It's like a process where you really think about it. I like to joke with our students going, I'm gonna tell you a secret. The best thing you can do that you'll stand out, because here's how low the bar is like just have good manners. If you're just polite, people will remember you, because that's kind of rare nowadays, sadly. So it's just like this matter of warmth and like following through with your actions and words as you develop a reputation of working with other people. And as we go through improv at the ETC, the professor who teaches that likes to say there's a really smart distinction to make. That it's better to be fun to play with as opposed to have fun playing. You want people to want to work with you and want to do stuff like that. Our students often struggle with the idea that they tried so hard, so that effort should mean their work was good. And we're like, oh, sometimes it's like, you tried really hard, but it's still not great work. A lot of times programmers go, well, my code works, the game's good. And like, well, the game's not fun, so you're not done yet. Ira Glass out of All Things Considered, an NPR here, a radio show, like to talk about the taste skill gap. And that as you're developing as a professional creative in the industry, often your taste is really good. It's good. The movie, the game, the theater piece. That you feel like you understand what makes it good stuff, but that your skill as a creator is not there yet to make those good things. But you develop that across your career.
All right,
and Neil
Drew,
Gaiman liked to say,
I don't want to interrupt
am I out of
you.
time?
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Yes, you're out of time.
You
So
are.
I need to stop you here.
All right. I want to say one thing.
Yeah.
Creative Chaos for Good is we actually have a creative good fund. We want to support creative work where we have a endowed fund where students can do work. Sorry, I ran over. Thank you so much, everyone.
It's fine. Thank you so much for the talk. It was very interesting. I would like to study with you. So sounds great. So we now have time for some questions. So maybe like one question. So if you have it, put it in the chat. And if not, I will ask one thing maybe. I will wait for just 1 second if there is a question popping up. All right. So you mentioned that, of course, the people don't really want to work with others and want to work with their friends. So is there a way that you tell them you can't, or do you have like special training for that?
Yes. What we try to do is part of it is since they're all going through improvisational acting, they kind of start to get to know each other on various levels. So like they're like, okay, I know this person's my friend, but I'm getting a sense of everybody else because we're going through this. On the one hand, it's fun. On the other hand, it can be stressful. We're getting up on stage doing these improvisational activities. And on the other hand, we really challenge them to think about, we sort of try to mirror the industry where it's, unless you're just doing a startup, and that's totally fine too, you're going to end up hiring on to something, into a company. And so we really like to challenge our students to go, like what if all you want to do is do what you want, just go do it. Go do that startup. Why are you paying tuition? But if you're here, we're going to give you a context where we put you on, teams where you work together because we want to challenge you in that way so you get better at it and get more comfortable at it.
Yeah, that sounds like a great approach. So we have one more questions from the people watching. So what is the main challenge in the teams?
The universal is I joke, but the universal is working with other people. Like, technologies are coming, 5-6 years ago, who knew VR was coming back? And now it's meta and we're going for the metaverse and, so there's things are happening and stuff, but, so like, that's always going to change. But that universal is like, you're dealing with people, whether it's a client, your teammates, your boss, you're having interpersonal stuff come into the, So that's the thing that we always try to help our students. Like I ran over, so I'm sorry, but we talked about it being a durable skill that you develop. It'll last your whole life if you're good at communicating with and collaborating. It's a very durable skill, and whatever field you're in, as long as you feel comfortable trying to work with other people, that is something that I think will last you your career across that 50 or 60 years.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So we will see you again in the discussion note at the very end. So I'm very happy to talk to you again then. Thank you for your talk. It was very interesting. And right now we are going to head over to the other side of the studio for now. So going back to our map of Spaceship Earth, our next speaker is Xiaochen Daniel Ding from China. So I'm going to make a little connection here, see if I'm correct. So like this. So this is where we are right now. Daniel is the director of the new media department of the Beijing Institute of Fashion Technology. and he is working on a project about creative digital design for the elderly. I'm very excited to hear about it. Hello, how are you? Can you hear me?
Hello,
Hi.
Catherine. And yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, everything works.
Can you hear me? Yes,
Yes.
that's good. Can you see my screen as well?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, Stefan, who invited me uh, to Creatable. And today, I would like to present the designs, different cases, the design for the cognitive cares for the elderly people. I come from Beijing. Beijing Institute of Fashion Technology is one of the prestigious university for fashion and design. We have about 10,000 uh, students in our school from a bachelor and master and the PhD students. And um, so I'm going to play my slide. Can you see this? I cannot hear any response.
Yes, we can see the slides.
Hello? Okay, okay. So I just mentioned that I'm going to talk about the designs that we've been done for the past few years, and there are three cases it's going to show. And before I start talking about the cases, I would like to tell you about Once More. Once More is a group of students and faculties in our school by using design to assist senior adults to face their second half of their life and to design products and services through the innovation of the young designer. And, and the following three cases will be relating to RT. RT is the short name of Reminiscing Therapy. And it is also known as a life review therapy, is often used to treat severe memory loss or dementia. And it works by encouraging people to revisit moments from the past. The first one is the project we have done is a service design that came from the workshop of the 2019 Design Day Marathon during the Beijing Design Week. It's called RT Calligraphy Calendar. So during the design process, we've been looking at the RT trainings that we can use for engage with the senior adults, our users. So we found this article from Nature. It says that the juggling skill showed up as a transient feature on the brain image scan that indicates that the hand movements had a better effect on improving memory. So with the keywords of hand movements, we've been searching for the activity we can discover from the lifestyles of the senior Chinese. So you can see here playing walnut and the finger exercise and writing calligraphies. And writing calligraphy comes into our mind because the writing of the calligraphy in China start from a very early age, from elementary school. Most of the Chinese people we learn writing calligraphy from our very very young age. So it's quite universal in the way that we can incorporate into our design. And also another paper shows from the medical centers of the Chinese University in Hong Kong that with the 2 to 4 weeks of a professional calligraphy training, the MCI patient has improved in their short-term memory event. And also, in addition, that writing calligraphy can also treat depression and anxiety in the elderly. So it's very usable because, as I said, it's very universal a skill for all the Chinese people. And with this kind of the content we can include in our design, we have to think of what kinds of the way that we can encourage the people to use every day. So we came up with something that most of the Chinese household they have, which is the calendar. So if you discover from the Chinese household, every household, they have a calendar in their home. So we uh, use calendar, and we use the writing of calendar incorporated into uh, the calendar. Well, I would like to show you, this is the video, the very short video about this design.
With memory loss, the text in the calendar is presented in faded Chinese calligraphy. Each day, the users need to paint the text in order to see the contents. Based on the clinical behavior for kinds of AD patients, we design a variety of interesting calligraphy games and exercises in the calendar, which aid in slowing down Alzheimer's dementia while helping the calendar retain its memory. A. Memory loss. In the calendar, we use literature and writing from the 1960s, which has a simple nostalgic effect on users. The users need to complete text and exercises by using their memory. Logopathy and dyslexia. As the user writes and paints folk songs, nursery rhymes, and legends in the calendar, they can share them with family members, especially grandchildren. This is both literacy training for AD patients, as well as a way to improve their relationships and to get them interacting with others. Visuospatial dysfunctions. Users draw a simple graphic based on the music they hear, write something to describe the music, or distinguish his or her surname in the surnames provided, in order to exercise awareness and recognition. Executive function disorders. For users with slow response for thinking, reasoning, and judging, we design traditionally inspired games that exercise users' functional execution, reasoning, and reaction abilities. At the end of each month, there's a page we call Clock Test. Through the test, we'll know whether the user is suffering from AD, the stage of AD, and the effects of using the calendar.
So by incorporating with different uh, games that you can see from the calendar, we are achieving the goal that helping the elderly people to exercise their brain. And the second case is after we have done the calendar, the RT calendar, and because the calendar has discovered by the doctor, the medical doctor from Peking University. So starting from last year, we've been collaborating with the Memory Center of Peking University Hospital, and also with the guidance of the National Health Commission. We create this toolkit. It's called Aging Cognitive Care. And what is the toolkit? And the toolkit has consisted with 7 parts: interactive card game, and training exercise, calligraphy calendar, information cards, reminder magnet, training toys, and contact cards. And the design of the toolkit has used the eyes, ear, mouth, nose, and hands of the human senses to express the things of a cognitive interactive training. And the color is also is very has a very big visual impact for the elderly people. So in the card game is for the family and the care person to accompany the elderly people to interact together in any time and anywhere, inside or outside their house. And this calendar is a smaller version, a smaller size of the RT calligraphy calendar, composed of the monthly calendar picture books and the user manual. And this calendar has 5 different cognitive goals to improve the brain abilities. And the trainings are divided into 3 different phases, and each phase is planned with the training of 1 or 2 weeks. Meka is a poster allowing the user to respond to the action diagram, and also allowing them to scan the QR code using their cell phone to see the video, the exercise video in action. So I'm going to show you another video. Here is the video of Mecca. And we have also a core information card. Core information cards is designed for the family to introduce the patient care skills. So the information card that you can post in your refrigerators and the place where you can easily stick onto. And there's another thing that to remind you the things needed to be checked before you going out is the reminder magnet. The last one is the contact card. We use this to put inside the bag, which is a container for the whole kit. So once if you found the elderly person, you can see the information inside this contact cards. So that is the second case of the toolkit. And third case uh, is the is the design we are going to collaborate because we discover our physical training tools, and we have the digital one is called the Best Cover Brain and Body Rehab Training. The Best Cover is a company in Shanghai. They have developed an app include three services and the insurance option. They incorporate with the game plus the insurance option where you can purchase for the elderly people in your family. So there are different kind of the training and services, gamification training, professional testing, and the home training courses. Through these different kind of services, it start from the early preventions of dementia and help the elderly user continue to obtain better brain exercise and long-term health care. So this is the last video I like to show you, which is also very interesting to see. Okay, if you would like to see the calendar, the RT calendar, you can scan this QR code. So that concludes my presentation today. We've been working on the SDG 3, health and well-being for the past almost 10 years, a decade. And we will be still looking for the opportunity to help the elderly people and the younger people to better their well-being. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Catherine.
Thank you for your presentation. That was very interesting. So again, we will have time for some questions. So if you have questions, put them in the chat. And I'm going to ask the first question because I was wondering, how did you get into the whole topic? So how did you start working on projects for elderly people?
It was very early in 2018. We discovered that the most of the major internet providers, the younger people or the elderly people. And starting from that moment, they are paying a lot of attention to the elderly people. So I have collaborated with Tencent, which is one of the largest internet company in China, for two major academic events. So starting from that time, I'm I have worked on some design and research on to the design onto the design for the elderly people.
All right. And in that time, did you see like special maybe mistakes or something that people would make when they were designing something for elderly people? Is there like a common mistake that everyone makes?
There's one common mistake is for most of the internet designers in the company, if you are you have age over 30, you are considered elderly people in the internet company. So they have no sense at all about the lifestyle for the elderly people. For example, right now I have an eye problem because I cannot see very short fonts, and I need to see bigger fonts, and that's something that the younger designer they cannot sense in their younger life as a designer. So
Yeah.
that creates some problems, and but the major problem is majorly coming from after the pandemic. You know, China has a very good usage for the cell phone, and we pay, we go out, we do not carry any currency at all. We only use the cell phone, and for me, I don't have any money at my pocket. And this year, when I stay in south of China for the Chinese New Year, I have experienced a problem on going to the traditional Chinese market, where the elderly people they cannot sell things at all without taking a youngster with them. So the government start paying a lot of attention this year. So you can see, I'm not talking about too much about this some innovation here there, but I do see the innovation here right now regarding the usage of the internet software or mobile phone software here, and it has a lot of change in this year.
Yeah, I see. So thank you for the insight. I think this is a very important topic. So I didn't think about it as much when I'm working on my games, for example, but I think this is definitely something to keep in mind. So thank you very much for your input. All right, then there is one more thing I want to tell you or remind you again that we still have some Kahoot questions for you. So whenever you see the banner, Let's Play Kahoot, you can just head over to Kahoot, and it's next to the chat. So you just tap on Kahoot, and then you can be part of it and participate in the games. So let's head over to the map again and see who's next. So we will go to London right now. So let me untangle this strip so I can go to London and hopefully not damage this. All right. So we're in London right now, and we're going to meet Deborah Mensah-Bonsu. She's a founder of Games for Good, and she's using games for social impact. So games are really a big potential to reach a lot of people. So in Germany alone, I think more than 30 million people play video games. So that's a great medium to promote sustainability. And Deborah is helping developers to make more responsible choices. They make a project called Green Game Jam, a project called Playing for the Planet, and they also made a green game guide. And I think we will hear about some of these projects right now from Deborah. And she's here with us. Hello, can you see me?
Hello, yes, I can see you. How's it going? Nice to be here, everybody.
Nice to see you. So I'm very excited to hear about what you're going to tell us.
Sure. So I'll just chat for maybe 5 minutes. I've got some slides here. They're, let me just see if I can go through them. Cool. And then I've got a video to share, which will be about another 5 minutes. And then hopefully there'll be time for a little bit of Q&A as well. But yeah, so I'm Deborah, and I run a consultancy called Games for Good. And myself and my team, we work on how we can use games or the industry and the ecosystem for positive change, for social impact. And so one of the projects that I work on is with the United Nations Environment Program, and it's called Playing for the Planet. And this is an alliance of some of the biggest video games companies in our industry who have all made commitments to try to reduce their impact on the planet, and also knowledge share, and also try to reach their player base. So some of the things that we're working on is, of course, around decarbonization. So what kind of commitments can these different companies or studios make to try to lower their emissions? Another big piece is around activations in play, because like I said, we're also trying to reach, the more than 2 billion gamers on the planet with some of these themes. And it's really a space to learn and collaborate with each other. I think that's been maybe the most significant part of this alliance, and I think of the initiatives, is that you're bringing together all these people who are helping each other to level up in this space and to find best practices and share knowledge and get better. All of this is really an iterative process, much like making games. And so having that community of people who can push you further, who can give you help when you're stuck, is really, really valuable. And just this year alone, we've had 7 new studios and new associate members, so things like trade bodies like Yuki, for example. And we've had more than 50 actions taken by members in 2021, so some kind of environmental commitment. More than 50, or more than half, decided to commit to net zero or carbon activity by 2030. And then we had about 30 mobile and console studios join the Green Game Jam, and that's mostly what I'm going to talk about today. So really the point of the jam is to, as you can see it there, it's let's empower our players to change their world through the games they know and love. And we have the 2 most valuable things that anyone can really have from anybody else. And one of those things is time, and the other is trust. And we have both of those with our player communities. And really the idea is that if we care for our players, then they can help care for our planet. And the theme of this year's jam was around conserving and restoring forests and oceans. And so we had more than 26 different studios submit ideas about what they were going to implement within their titles to try to reach gamers and player communities about these different themes. And this jam is maybe a little different than what you might normally think of as a game jam. Usually a game jam is a couple of days, really intensive, and at the end you might have a prototype for a new game idea. Whereas this jam is all about how we can reach existing audiences with the games that are already out there, that have all these massive player bases, or titles that are about to be released. So rather than hoping that a game might be released in like 3 or 4 years, if it's good, this is all about how can we make some impact now with the things that are already out in the wild. And so here are just some of the different studios that took part. And if these logos maybe don't mean anything to you, they are some of the most well-known titles that players are engaging with right now. So things like Minecraft, Monument Valley, Pokemon Go, and across different platforms. Last year we only had mobile, and this year we had mobile, console, and PC titles participating. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen there, and I think we can roll the video.
Video games are a playground for imagination and creativity. We explore with friends, push ourselves to new heights, dream up elaborate worlds, and cooperate to solve complex problems. Our medium has the potential to touch the hearts and energize the minds of billions. The Green Game Jam has grown from a pilot project with 11 mobile studios to a movement of nearly 30 mobile, console, and PC titles from some of the biggest studios in the world. In 2021, the games industry came together for the 2nd annual Jam. Inspired by some of the world's leading environmental thinkers, more than 25 studios hacked, tweaked, and reimagined their games to reach and teach their millions of players about our urgent need to conserve our forests and oceans.
To briefly summarise our green activation in Monument Valley 2, we've created a brand new level that sets out to remind our players about the beauty of trees and the importance of the preservation of our world's forests as a crucial ally against climate change. We were inspired by the idea that trees are sentient emotional beings that are interconnected socially and support family trees to grow through a root network support and communication system. We wanted to use this inspiration to tell a story that would move our players spiritually and emotionally through our Green Game Jam activation, which we hope will inspire players to give trees a voice by signing the Play for Forest petition.
4 Ubisoft studios from across Europe entered the Jam this year, tackling ocean conservation, forest restoration, and climate action in inspired and ambitious ways.
In Anno, players build up big settlements and big economies. But the players are not faced with the environmental impact that actually has. So for the Green Game Jam, we decided to create a new game mode in which the players has to face the consequences of building up those settlements. The player is tasked to settle a new island, preserve the nature, while still building up a sustainable economy. And all of this abstraction in games allows us to create a fun experience for the players and still gives us the opportunity to highlight the environmental problems our world is facing right now.
This year, the Jam had its first AR title participating.
Our Green Games Jam 2021 entry. We wanted our sugar glider to come back from his world into the past, into our world now, and to warn us of what might happen and give us advice of how we can change this potential future. And what better way to demonstrate this than by an augmented reality experience? Trees and forests will grow from your table, and the sugar glider will come down from his home in the trees and walk across the table towards you. The sugar glider's message is simple: act now and you can prevent this particular hellish future from happening.
From new technologies to new demographics.
过去几年，气候变化日益成为一个引人关注的话题，各国都在携手努力实现碳中和的目标。游戏行业也是时候加入到这场行动中来，用游戏的力量提升公众的认知。正值天美工作室群加入联合国环境署玩游戏救地球联盟的契机，我们响应绿色游戏创意计划的号召，探索利用自身的游戏与平台去影响现有的游戏玩家。来自全球300余所高校年轻人参与了赛事，涌现了多部优秀作品，反映了全球变暖、森林消失、环境污染等主题。我们将继续支持他们的创作，让年轻人的绿色游戏真正成为应对气候危机的一股力量。
We at Wooga and the June's Journey team are proud to have contributed to this inspired initiative from the UN to restore and conserve the world's forests and oceans through video games. As part of the Green Game Jam, we developed a series of special trees that players could plant on their island, and each tree planted in-game would result in a tree being planted in real life. Often we look at complicated problems like environmental preservation and we ask ourselves, well, what can I do about it? How can I make our world a better place? But by lowering the barrier to entry and turning problem solving into something fun, we allow everyone to be a part of the solution.
Simple or sophisticated, all games have the potential to challenge us to think differently about the natural world and can inspire us to come together to save it. So let's empower our industry, its studios, and the more than 2 billion gamers on the planet to become vehicles for change. Let's harness the power of play for the planet.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the video and for your presentation.
We're back. Okay, great. No problem.
Hi. Yeah, welcome back. So, yeah, we're actually running a bit late. We have maybe time for one more question. I'll see if there's something in the chat. So, because if not, I would like to ask you if you have maybe one favorite example of a result of the Green Game Jam.
Yeah, it's hard to say if there's one necessarily. I think the ones that were brought up in the video are just really good examples of the variety of things that people come up with, whether it's something that's really light touch and easy to implement, or whether it's completely restructuring the way that you're doing mechanics in game. So that's really what I love about it. It's not so much one thing, it's the variety and the breadth of creativity, I think, that people are putting into it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Great examples and also a great initiative. Thank you for doing that.
Thanks for having me today.
All right, I hope I see you. And thank you so much. We're going to head, actually, I don't need to go anywhere because right now we are halfway to our input talks. So we will have a little break. And here at the Communication Central, we will open the airlocks for a little ventilation. And right now, we are going to enjoy some music in the meantime. We have Diana Iserex. She's a musician and initiator from Karlsruhe. And this year, she won the MFG Ideenstark Award for Creative Professionals. With her creative and socio-educational skills, she is going to create a better tomorrow. So, for example, she plays concerts in prison, and with her debut album, she talks about issues related to prison, for example, social injustice. In a book, workshops, theater pieces, short films, remixes, and orchestral versions of her songs, and a benefit exhibition, she's going to carry the content to different target groups through different artistic levels and connect high and subculture. So inspired by prison, social and structural issues are illustrated, and she's going to take us on a little musical journey during our break. I'm excited to hear your music. Hi, Diana.
Hi, it is so nice to meet you. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you to all the speakers that shared their knowledge, their insight into what they do. Yeah, as already introduced, my name is Diana Ezrex, and I'm a singer and a songwriter, and I'll sing some songs from the debut album for you, and some others as well. Yeah, this first song is the like the kind of wrap up song from this album. It's called I Don't Stop, and I thought this would be a good start into all of this, as all of you are so creative and you change the world by what you do. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed I Don't Stop. My mind is going round. I went through lost and found. I can't find it. I can't find it. What am I looking for? There is this need for more. Do I need it? Do I need it? My dreams, my hopes, confuse my soul, my soul. And I dare to go where to, I don't know, I don't know. And I hear the tender sound of my walls crashing down. I don't need to keep it up. My heart has had enough, and I keep picking up the pieces that keep dropping. I don't stop. I don't stop. The things I did before, they changed me to my core, and they rule me. They rule me. I think I'll start again. I need to break this chain. God help me. Oh, God help me. Oh, my dreams and my hopes, they confuse my soul, my soul, my soul. And I dare to go where to, I don't know, I don't know. And I hear the tender sound of my walls crashing down. I don't need to keep it up when my heart has had enough. And I keep picking up the pieces that keep dropping. I don't stop, and I think I'll go crazy if I don't say it. If I don't say it. And I think I'll go crazy if I don't say it. If I don't say it. And I hear the tender sound of my walls crashing down. I don't need to keep it up. And heart has had enough. And I keep picking up the pieces that keep dropping. I don't stop. I don't stop. Oh, I don't stop. I don't stop. So yeah, that was the first song, I Don't Stop. And the second one is one not from the album. It's a very old song. It's called Memory Lane. It's about looking back. It's about reminiscing, but also thinking about all the good things you've done, about the mistakes you made, but you learned from it, and also about looking forward and standing on the ground that you're on, and being faithful that good things are going to come, that you're going to be fine, even though it might not seem that way. And yeah, I hope you like it. I love playing this one in prisons, especially because the people there sometimes have, most of the times they have so much to deal with. They have so much time to think about what they've done and what their future is going to be like. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it, Memory Lane. I'm taking a trip down memory lane. Memory lane, remembering the things I used to say and think and do. There are times I didn't think I could ever smile again. Smile again. There are times I wished I could keep them in a jar. Oh, I have survived so many times, and now I stand, I wanna live, not just survive, I wanna live, I wanna live. I'm taking a trip down memory lane. Memory lane, enjoying the moments where I was proud, where I was good, where I was strong, where I was me. I wanna stop losing, hit over past mistakes, and start with enjoying the things that I can do. Oh, yeah. I have survived so many times, and now I stand, and now I stand. I wanna live, not just survive, not just survive. I wanna live, I wanna live, I wanna live, I wanna live, yeah, I wanna live. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have an awesome rest of the day, and stay safe and healthy, and have a beautiful end of the year, even though it seems so stressful most of the time. All the best to you. Thanks from Karlsruhe, and goodbye. Oh yeah, if you want to listen to the album, just Google my name, Diana Ezrex, Izerex, and you can listen to more of the songs.
Welcome back to our communication center. I don't think I've ever been to an online event that had live music. That was great. I loved it. So thank you, Diana, for your music. I hope you took the time to take some deep breath and relax a little bit, because now we're going full light speed into our next topics. Our next talk is going to come from Karlsruhe, and I'm going to head over here because I actually forgot to fly to Karlsruhe before that. We were in Karlsruhe with Diana, and now taking another round around Karlsruhe. Now we're going to talk to Jan Reichert. He is CEO of KR3M, and they built an application for the state Baden-Württemberg, and it's called KlimaBuddy. It's a CO2 calculator, and it promises that you can help save the climate by caring for an owl. Caring for an owl sounds awesome, and I already saw a screenshot of an owl wearing a hat, so that sounds great. Hi Jan, nice to see you.
Hi, great to be here.
Oh, I cannot
cannot
hear
see
you,
anything. My screen is black.
This
Should I
might
see
be
you
my
at
problem.
this time? I mean, anyway, I
It
don't
looks
have
like
to
it's
see
my
you,
problem.
but
Everyone else can
see
hear
me?
you. So then I will just ask you to start.
Very good. I will try to share the screen. Let's see if this works. Thank you for having me here from Karlsruhe, Baden-Württemberg. I am Jan Reichert, and today I'm talking about the climate app of Baden-Württemberg, the KlimaBuddy. Just a few words about who I am. My company is called a cryptic name KR3M. We are the market leader for HTML5 casual games for publishers and media companies. Besides that, we do communication and game design for all kinds of clients, big corporations, international clients since 1999. We are 30 employees here in Karlsruhe and another 15 in Eastern Europe. I'm the CEO of KR3M, and now we go to the climate app. End of last year, the Ministry of the Interior made a tender because since 2013 we have a climate protection law here in Baden-Württemberg, and the goal is to promote climate-friendly behavior with a mobile app. We won this app, and I want to talk to you a little bit about the background and what became out of the tender. First, we analyzed different carbon saving apps, climate apps that are in the App Store. And we were a little bit shocked. We realized that we found no app. And we looked at all of these apps. This is a screenshot. I had a look actually just yesterday. None of these apps have more than 10,000 plus downloads on Google Play. 10,000 plus is really very little for an international app. For example, if you could say take Candy Crush Saga or similar, you have a billion downloads, right? So we were really surprised that obviously nobody really wants to use these apps. We had a look at them and they all look quite nice, but I think it's because you are punishing yourself all the time when you use these apps. You are not allowed to fly anymore. You are not allowed to drive anymore. You are not allowed to eat anymore. So you have to switch off the lights. Even though you're really should have a positive experience, what you do is you all the time punish yourself. So we asked ourselves, how can we give a more enjoyable experience? And we had a look about enjoyable apps where you take care. And we found a lot of pet apps, Tamagotchi apps, which have millions of downloads, 500 million for My Talking Tom, and the female version, My Talking Angela, has another 500 million. Even this very nice Pooh has 500 million. I personally recommend the Clumsy Ninja. It's really fun. So these pet apps really have a lot of downloads. So we said, let's do something to take care connected to saving the climate. And out of it came the Klima Buddy. The first approach for a buddy were these, but the ministry would like to have a more local approach, and we came up with this. This guy here is a little bit problem sometimes. So in the end, it became this one, and it hatched, and it was the brown owl, which is an endangered bird of Baden-Württemberg. You can feed him, you can clothe him. He even has some local couture. He has something for winter and something for summer, and you can do a lot of other stuff with him. I can show you right away. We programmed the app in HTML5, and we use a capacitor to publish the app for Apple and for Google Play. When you start the app, it starts like all the apps with the carbon footprint. It changes the look depending on how you answer. For example, if you really use the bad energy, it looks like this. If you use too much energy, it looks like this. If you buy too much stuff, it looks like this. Always with a little ironic touch. Then you get a comparison of footprint compared to a German average. You see mine is really bad. But then you start doing missions, also a little bit similar to other apps. The ministry and us put a lot of effort in good missions, interesting missions. And here starts the Tamagotchi effect. You see, the owl is always with you. You not only get COW, carbon dioxide reduction, but you also get karma points. And with the karma points, you can grow your own. I come right away to this one. The missions are managed by the ministry with the content management system. They can update additional missions, the missions themselves. They can input the carbon reduction and how much karma points it gives. Interesting side fact, the karma reduction is quite difficult to find out. Studies for such direct missions like eating local food and stuff is quite difficult to calculate. Of course, it's difficult to calculate because the overall effect in carbon dioxide of such a local thing, for example, if you eat local food is quite difficult to calculate. Nevertheless, it was quite difficult sometimes to pinpoint the reduction effect. So now having a look at the owl, for example, here you see how the forest grows if you grow your owl. Just having a look at the body. You see, this is your body. I can feed him. Yeah, he likes the food. Very nice. Happy. I can shower him. In the end, I hope he likes it. Yes, very good, very good. And okay, I can touch him a little bit, pet him a little bit. He's tickly, and give him a high five. Thank you all. Coming back, there are also news of environmental news, climate news, carbon reduction news in the app to round up the content, and hopefully you can download it in January from App Store and Google. Please do so. We want to reach 10,000 plus very soon, hopefully 50,000 plus, and top all the apps in the stores with the Klima Buddy. See you in January in the stores. If you have any further questions, please contact me, and I'm interested in what you think about the owl and the Klima Buddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your interesting talk. I think this is definitely a topic that we will talk about a little bit longer, CO2 emissions and climate change. So keep this little app in mind. So, okay, we will head over to our next speaker for today. We have Anna. Let me switch to the correct side. The next speaker is Anna Grunenberg. She's an ecologist, forest scientist, and member of the European Parliament for the Greens EFA since 2019. And previously, she was a city councillor and chairwoman for the Greens in Stuttgart for 10 years. And she found ways to get things moving in a creative and culturally sensitive way. And she's going to find new approaches for different sustainable ecology, and this is going to be about the concept of the common good economy, and she prepared something for us that we're going to look at now.
Do you know what the aha experience is? It is a tiny moment when you realize that you just learned something completely new. This moment when you are, for a millisecond, in a new place of your inner garden that opens a whole new experience. So, hello to all of you at this Creatables conference. I am Anna Grunenberg. I am multicultural melting pot of 3 nationalities, namely German, French and Swiss, since birth. And I am a Green member of the European Parliament since 2019. I'm a political pioneer of the economy of the common good since 2009, when I started against all odds to put the common good approach into practice in Stuttgart. These first new lines I addressed to you are actually from a speech I gave around this time in the year in 2018 in the City Hall of Stuttgart for the opening of the International Economy of the Common Good conference. It was quite emotional for me at the time, because not only I had people come from all over the world to hear about what we had done in Stuttgart, but also because it was my goodbye speech. I was on my way out of the City Council and on my way in to the European Parliament. As a good Green, I recycled this introduction of the speech for you because I want to tell you about one particular aha experience I had about 10 years ago. An experience that became a tool for change that I applied in the city of Stuttgart, and I'm eager to apply now in the European Parliament. Let's dive into my presentation.
So I would like to start with a small introduction of my hometown, Stuttgart, because it is a place where 2 worlds collide. I try to make these different worlds visible for you. In this chart, Stuttgart is definitely an industrial city and a center of economic activity. It is the cradle and the home of the automotive industry, with big brands that you all know, namely Mercedes and Porsche. They are very hardworking, performance-oriented people that actively participated in an economic system mostly centered on profit maximizing. And yes, this is also Stuttgart, a very green city surrounded by forests, green rolling hills and vineyards, a big anthroposophical community, a lot of bike activists and outdoorsy people, people that are really engaged with refugees, people who love arts and urban gardening, people who are longing for change towards more sustainability. And this is me in the middle of it all in a great balancing act. Here I am in my early 30s, young mother of 3 kids, just entering in the city council 2009. I admit it was not an easy start. The society as represented in this council was in such a different place than I would have wished it to be, even though I felt there was a wish for change on a theoretical front, and I also learned quickly that there was a lot of resignation when it came to praxis. It all boiled down to this message: you can't really make deep change happen, or sticking to my imaginary, you can't build a bridge between these two worlds. I was aware that every small nature conservation project or greening of the urban area, every educational program for kids I fought for, to have learning experience in nature, it all came in a way from the money from the industry. Stuttgart wealth is all thanks to it. What a contradiction. And I came to realize that in fact the whole world lives in that very same contradiction. I was thinking a lot about this contradiction, and then I went to a presentation of the economy of the common good of Christian Felber in Stuttgart, and I had a talk with him afterwards. I put those dandelion seed parachuting through the air on the chart because they are really the symbol of the economy of the common good. And in this evening, one of these parachutes landed on me. In this moment, I felt that these worlds can be reconciled, that we can make change happen, and that people will want to be part of this process of this change by design. I had found finally a tool and started using it. That this tool actually worked was exemplified by an encounter. I will tell you. The chair of the Economic Committee of Stuttgart, a man from the CDU, the Christian Democrat Union Party of Germany, also the Conservatives, organized a factory tour of a medium-sized construction company in the region. During the visit, we all felt the family spirit of the company and the respect for the employees. The CEO couple presented that they offer professional education to refugees, fostered lifelong learning even of their older staff, and started working with more sustainable building materials. They also told us how difficult things have become given the rising prices, the difficult to obtain public commission, and so on. The CDU chair of the Economic Committee was quite proud to present us this local company, and rightfully so. After the presentation, I took the opportunity to speak and said, "Your family is leading a model company, and I am impressed with what you've shown us today. There is a concept that I'm trying to make known in the City Council of Stuttgart. It is called Economy of the Common Good. All that you are doing for the common good is assessed in an audit, an independent and certified examination of all the activity which affect people and environment. And the result is a common good balance sheet. And the idea is that you are then favored when it comes to public commissioning, so that you receive in a way a compensation for all good things that you are doing." The CEO eyes lit up and he wanted more information, but above all, he wanted to know whether Stuttgart was really going to apply this. And the seed was in a way planted, not only in this specific company, but also within the CDU, a party that was indispensable at the time to build majorities in the city council. Since I found out that approaching the economy of the common good balance sheet in a theoretical way was always the death of the discussion, I thought before starting such debates I would discreetly integrate a concrete project into the budget. As a president of the Green Group, I could do that, and at the end, 2 local city-run companies did the assessment, and after having gained such deep insight into their own processes and their effects on the world, they received funds to improve their common good balance further. Now the stage was set to discuss was worked on why the people could see the benefit of such an approach, and I had 1 players on the common good field. You can see it here. It was Stadtentwässerung Stuttgart and Eigenbetrieb Leben und Wohnen. I wouldn't stay with this. More happened in Stuttgart after that, but given the time, I will move on. In my introduction, I already mentioned that all of that eventually lead to an international conference of the economy of the common good being held in Stuttgart 2018, and that I was on my way into the European Parliament. And on this next slide, you see a little overview and which committee I am in the European Parliament and which different topics I'm dealing with. Now of interest is mainly the Agriculture Committee, called Agri, because this was where I tried to introduce the idea of the economy of the common good first. The idea is that the means of the common agriculture policy should be spent on common good in order to help us preserve our water quality, maybe the fertility of our soils, the biodiversity, and of course, enable better working conditions, reward farmers for farming responsibility. Instead of forcing them into farming big and industrial in order to receive funding and putting them in a very uncomfortable position where they are held responsible by the public for all the ecological and social wrongdoing in agriculture. One big challenge of applying this common good balance sheet is that it is time intensive to undergo the assessment. So the success of such idea will depend also on smart tools. I was quick happy to find that there is a smart farm tool being developed by Fiebel to take this process quicker and more accessible in farming. In the slide, you see how the result of such an assessment looks graphically, like a cobweb. The score of each company can range from 0 in the inner circle to 100 in the outer circle and is assessed for a different aspect. For example, in farming efforts for climate change mitigation, biodiversity. An example here, we don't see the result of an individual farm, but a comparison between integrated farming in red and organic farming in green. And this leads me on the next slide to one of my key messages to you. We need skills and ideas of people like you to make sustainability measurable, efficient, and also understandable, visible, or even fun. The problem with all environmental harm that we are doing is that the consequences are further down the road. Even though the road is a lot shorter than we might think now, somehow our brains can't really embrace it. So anything that gives us direct feedback helps. For example, as I am also a member of the Transport Committee, I'm concerned with sustainable mobility. During the Stadtradl, city biking, people track their cycling and receive direct feedback how many emissions they saved. People compete in teams for being the most sustainable. And I think that it's exactly the type of fun competition that an applied economy of the common good would lead to, an upward spiral to more life quality. Since I really like this vision, I tried to start a pilot project called Local Green Deals at the European level. Here you see the info sheet. The idea was that local authorities receive EU funding to help small and medium-sized enterprises to be ethically assessed. This could be the economy of the common good balance sheet, but there is all other such B Corporation or cradle to cradle. It would be the kickstart for European common good regions and also for a lot of sustainable change along the supply chain of the companies. While it won't be possible to realize it from the form I had anticipated, me and my team, we are exploring now ways to connect it to existing funding programs. The more companies that undergo such assessment reflect on their impact in the world, the more positive change we will see. Often they want to change something but need help, and I have hope that people like you at the Creatables conference can help build those bridges. On the political side, we are trying to set the frame right. There should be a return of an invest for companies that do their best for our common good. They should be privileged in a way. Before I say goodbye, I want to invite you to follow me on this ride to sustainability. You can follow me, of course, on social media. That helps a lot if you're spreading out my information. And of course, I invite you to subscribe to my newsletter.
So, thank you for your interest. I hope your enthusiasm for creative change will continue to inspire people. Let's work together on a change by design, not by disaster. This work is not easy, but it is a chance to make this adventure on planet Earth worthwhile.
Over for now to London again, because right now we will talk to Tom Greenwood. He is the Managing Director of Wholegrain Digital, and he's going to talk about sustainable web design. Hi, Tom. So good to see you.
Hello. How are you doing?
Okay, I don't think I can hear something. That's too bad, but I hope everyone else can hear you. Yes?
Yeah.
Can you hear Tom? Everyone?
Shall I start?
Yes, everyone can hear Tom except me. That's not a problem. So Tom, I will ask you to tell us something about sustainable web design.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for having me. Yes, so I'm going to talk about sustainable web design. And it's a topic that doesn't often get brought up in the sort of web design world. We think of web design and the internet as a whole as being very much non-physical. We think of it as being virtual, and we talk about it being in the cloud as if it's made of vapors. It's not a physical thing. And because we think that it's not a physical thing, it's very much just software, we don't really think about the environmental impact. It doesn't feel like there is some sort of tangible connection with the environment. But this is not the case. So when we take like the whole of the internet as a machine, it's the biggest machine that humans have ever created. And when we look at the greenhouse gas emissions over a year, there are actually as much greenhouse gas emissions coming from ICT and the internet as a whole as there are from Germany, which is the 7th most polluting country in the world. But I think more surprisingly, it's roughly equivalent to the annual emissions of the global aviation sector. And aviation is something that I think is very tangible. We all know that flying is polluting, and we understand that this is something that we need to tackle. But ICT and the internet is something that we look at as being virtual, and we don't even realize that there's an issue there. But yet these things are roughly equivalent in terms of their impact. So we really need to start looking at the internet and digital technology in a different way and start appreciating the fact that it is very much physical. And these greenhouse gas emissions come from the fact that we have thousands of data centers around the world consuming electricity 24 hours a day. We have huge transmission networks sending data around the globe in real time, and we have billions of end user devices that are consuming this data, and all of this is consuming huge amounts of electricity, and the generation of that electricity from fossil fuel sources is producing all of these greenhouse gas emissions. So what can we do about it? And specifically, what can we do about it in terms of those of us who are creating software and applications that people are using? What can we do as software creators? Well, the first thing that we can do is try to actually quantify the impact of what we're creating. In the case of websites, we've created a website carbon calculator where you can put in any web page URL and it will give you an estimate for the amount of carbon emissions and energy consumed when somebody loads that page. And this allows us to start benchmarking. And if we can benchmark where we're at, we can compare ourselves to competitors in the market, and we can also compare ourselves to where we are now with what we're going to achieve in the future, and we can start to improve our products and making changes. And we should also ask ourselves some really basic questions, like, do we really need this? Is the software that we're creating actually necessary in society? Because are we creating things that are consuming energy that don't need to exist? And if they do, could we achieve the same thing with less technology, with less design, with less data, and therefore actually save energy? And what could we lose? Are there things in our designs and in the code that we're developing that we could actually cut out and people wouldn't necessarily notice? They wouldn't feel like they had lost anything in terms of user experience. So starting with really basic questions, I think, is the foundation of sustainable web design. But then what about the actual practical actions? I'm going to give you some really top level practical actions that will make a significant difference. The first is optimizing images, and specifically like choosing the right file format. So JPEG for photographs is pretty much the standard, but WebP images are supported by all browsers now. And the file, so 30% smaller, is 30% less data has to be stored, 30% less data has to be transferred over the networks, and this is saving energy. And soon we're going to be able to use AVIF formats, which is an even more efficient file format, which is half the size, half the amount of data as JPEG images. So just basic choices like this can make things faster, but also use less energy. And a website where this sort of approach was adopted of using images more efficiently is Rights for Children. It's a website in the UK for children who live in institutional care to learn about their legal rights. So it's a really dry, serious topic, but it has to be engaging for children. And so it needed to be visually impactful, but it also needed to be low data because these children have limited access to data. And so using just CSS and SVG vector graphics was actually a way of creating a really rich visual experience with really, really tiny amounts of data. And this is good for the user, but also good for the environment. Videos are massively data consuming and massively energy consuming, and autoplay videos are the worst offenders. So avoiding autoplay videos is like an absolute must in sustainable web design. Brian Chen wrote for the New York Times that autoplay videos demand your attention while burning through your data plan and sucking up your batteries. Basically, they're really bad for the user and they're really bad for the environment. They're really only good for like advertisers and arguably maybe not even then. So avoiding autoplay video is a definite must. One of the most eco-friendly things you could do in web design is to use system fonts. So system fonts are the fonts that are already loaded onto the user's device. So Arial, Times New Roman, Courier New, on Android devices, Roboto, on Apple devices, Helvetica. Designers often try to like avoid system fonts because they're quite generic. Some of them look quite old-fashioned, but they can be used in really interesting use cases. And they're so efficient because no data has to be stored, no data has to be transferred. They're literally free from both an energy and a performance point of view. So they're really, really good for the environment. But if we do want to use like custom web fonts, we can actually do this more efficiently as well. Most fonts have far more characters than will ever be used. So Inter as an open source font, as an example, has over 2,000 characters by default. If you subset this down to only the characters you need on your website, in English, for example, we only need 98 characters. So if we subset the Inter file down to just English, we move it from 500 kilobytes down to 39 kilobytes, and then transferring it into the most efficient file format, which is easy to do with a free converter online. WAF2 is the most efficient file format for web fonts. We get it from 39 kilobytes down to 10 kilobytes, really tiny file. So there's things we can do that don't detract from the design or the user experience, but make things massively more data efficient and massively more energy efficient. We can also use color more efficiently. On modern OLED screens, each pixel lights up individually. This means that black pixels use minimal energy because they're basically switched off. White pixels are using the maximum amount of energy because they're on at full brightness. And red, green pixels use relatively low energy. For some reason, blue pixels are actually quite energy intensive. So just being aware of this allows us to think about the color choices we use in digital design in a different way. And obviously we have to think about user experience and accessibility and brand guidelines, but just being aware of the impact of color can allow us to interpret those guidelines and those constraints in a different way to reduce energy consumption on the end user's device. We can also think about the programming languages that we're using. Some of them can use far more energy or far less energy to achieve the same thing. So the most energy efficient programming languages are C, Rust, and C++, and the least efficient are Perl, Python, and Ruby. And out of the common web languages, JavaScript is one of the most efficient. It's 7 times more energy efficient than PHP and 16 times more energy efficient than Ruby. So if we're thinking about like what we want to learn in the future or what technology we might use for a new project, it's really good to think about this because it can make a massive difference. And we should also think about where the energy is coming from. So the internet is a distributed system, spans the entire globe. We can't even know where the energy is coming from for a lot of the services that we create. We don't know where our end users are, and we don't know where their power is coming from. But what we do know is where do we host our services? And we have a choice about where we host our services. And if we choose to host our websites and our applications in data centers that are close to our end users, so we minimize the distance between the data center and the end user, that saves energy. But also if we choose to use data centers that have made a commitment to powering their services through renewable energy, we can really massively reduce the emissions. And we can find out about these providers from the Green Web Foundation. They've got a database online. Or just simply ask your hosting provider. If they're using renewable energy, they will know about it and they will want to tell you about it. So the benefits of all of this, basically improved web performance, improved accessibility and inclusivity. We can reduce our hosting costs by being more efficient with data and processing. We can make maintenance easier. We can improve user experience, improve search rankings through faster websites, improve conversion rates, and of course, we can reduce energy consumption and carbon emissions. And if you want to find out more about this topic, this is really just a very top level introduction. I've written a book imaginatively titled Sustainable Web Design. It's available from abookapart.com. Thank you.
Great. So I don't think there are questions from the chat. Do I see any? There is no, not a question right now. So do we have just one more minute? So I was wondering, what do you think about all the great platforms like Twitter and Discord looking into NFTs? Because that's quite frankly the opposite of what you would want. Maybe, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're in this world where we're constantly striving for more and more technology, and there's a rebound effect that wherever we make things more efficient, we find new creative ways of consuming more. And I think NFTs are a good example of that. I think the metaverse is a good example of that. And I don't have an answer to like how we solve that. I think that's a bigger question about human nature and our society than about technology itself.
One more question from the chat. Could the sustainable web design approach also be applied to television content and how it is consumed or streamed?
Yes, to some extent. I mean, I think the biggest thing is in terms of streaming services like Netflix and YouTube designing their interfaces to encourage streaming at a lower resolution, to discourage binge watching, kind of the opposites of what they're generally set as defaults. Like they want you to watch in the highest definition and to like watch things endlessly. So I think some simple changes can make a huge difference there.
That's probably true. All right. Thank you for your insights. That was very interesting. And definitely a thing we should look into when we are looking on web design. So we are going to head over now to our networking part of the event. We will have a few minutes to take a rest, maybe have a coffee or something, and then we can get to the networking. So parallel to the networking, we will have the chance to discuss sustainable opportunities for cross-border corporations. There are 6 companies, both from Baden-Württemberg and the UK, and that is part of the Economic Partnership Initiative UK BW. And that is called BW Meets UK, Get Inspired by SMEs and Initiatives from Baden-Württemberg and the UK. So strong networks are very essential to remain viable in the long term and to meet the current challenges in the field of sustainability. So innovation comes from diversity, from strong cross-border and cross-sector partnerships. And economic relations between Baden-Württemberg and the UK have traditionally been very strong, and the basis for future cooperation is solid. So against the trend of current uncertainties, the British Consulate General, the UK's Department for the International Trade, the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Labour and Tourism developed a vision, a draft strategy, and also first concrete activities for corporations. So I hope you take the opportunity to network a bit, to meet some interesting people, and I hope you got some interesting insights from our speakers. So I'm going to head back to work, and all I've got left to say is thank you for being here. Thank you for traveling with Spaceship Earth today. Take care and fly safe.